Dad's white moonlight returned. For true love, even if it meant leaving with nothing, Dad insisted on divorcing Mom to marry his youthful white moonlight. Mom agreed. I can't wait to see whether this penniless dad will still be marriage material for his precious first love. When I got home, the atmosphere was strange. Dad, who always prioritized work, had come home before me for the first time ever. Mom, who was usually cheerful, sat stiffly on the sofa with a cold expression. Sophie, your dad and I are getting a divorce. Mom's words hit me like a bomb, leaving me stunned. After hearing her explanation, I understood the whole story. Back then, Dad had a white moonlight he couldn't have. When she went abroad, he lost all hope. Later, Mom took a liking to Dad and pursued him relentlessly. Eventually, Dad married Mom. Now that his white moonlight has returned and met with Dad again, he believes it's a heaven-sent fate and insists on divorcing Mom no matter what. Let's not even mention how long it's been since you last saw this white moonlight auntie. Back then, you were a poor boy she didn't fancy, but now that you're the chairman of a listed company, suddenly she's interested. Is it really you she wants, or your money? How dare you slander Victoria? Dad interrupted me, his face flushed red as if my words had blasphemed his sacred white moonlight. Since childhood, I had been the apple of his eye. When had he ever been this harsh with me? Exchanging glances with Mom, we both saw profound disappointment mirrored in each other's eyes. Since you've already decided to divorce, as your child, I can't interfere with your decision. No matter what, you'll always be my mom and dad. Dad looked deeply moved. Sophie, I always knew you were a good kid who cares about me. But I still have to remind you, Dad, after the divorce, you'll be leaving with nothing. You've poured so much effort into Mortimer's group all these years. Are you really willing to do that? Back then, my father was just a penniless young man, full of talent but with nowhere to apply it. My mother, blinded by love, fell for him and insisted on marrying him, crying and pleading. Grandpa had no choice but to agree, but he made my father sign a prenuptial agreement stating that in the event of a divorce for any reason, my father would leave with nothing. My mother only knew how to indulge in pleasures, while the company had always been managed by my father. Even so, the company shares remained in my mother's and my hands. My father never held a single share. In case of divorce, my father wouldn't get anything. When it came to important matters, my mother knew exactly what she was doing. Victoria and I share true love, and true love doesn't need to be measured by money. I won't take a single penny from the Mortimer family. I'll rely on my own abilities to start from scratch and make Victoria happy. Such an inspiring speech. But if he couldn't build his fortune from scratch when he was young and capable, does he really think he can do it now in middle age? All these years Dad has been managing the group, and the big platform has given him considerable confidence, along with a growing arrogance. Does he really believe that without Mortimer Group, he'd still be the respected chairman he once was? I respect Dad's decision. In that case, let's hold a board meeting in a couple of days to officially appoint me as the new chairman. Dad froze. What do you mean? My position as chairman was decided by the board. Since when do you get to decide? I chuckled. You're confused, Dad. The board chose you as chairman because Mom and I hold the majority shares in the group. We voted for you. Now that you're divorced from Mom, do you really think we'd still support you? A chairman without shares wouldn't even qualify to be on the board, would he? Dad was left speechless by my words, unable to argue back. He could only turn to Mom and ask, Eleanor, is this what you think too? Mom's words were even sharper than mine. Do you understand what leaving with nothing means? Once you're divorced from me, you're no longer part of our family. What right do you have to manage my company or take a salary from Mortimer Group? The audacity. Father's face turned red. After all, I'm still Sophie's biological father. I nodded. Yes, when you reach retirement age, I'll send you child support payments on time. Don't worry, Dad, I'll make sure your golden years are well taken care of. You won't be left alone and helpless. My father is the type who'd rather die than lose face. Seeing us talk like this, he stopped insisting. No need. The Mortimer family's money has nothing to do with me. I'll make my own way through hard work and build a successful career, just you wait and see. Dad stormed off angrily, and Mom and I couldn't help but laugh. Seeing that Mom wasn't too upset, I grew curious. Mommy, you were so love-struck back then, you defied Grandpa and even went on a hunger strike to marry Dad. How come you're letting go so easily now that you're divorcing? When I was young, I was blinded by your father's looks. Now his beer belly is bigger than his head. I woke up long ago. The only reason I stayed married was out of duty. Since he's the one asking for divorce, why wouldn't I take the opportunity? Turns out the best cure for love-struck delusion is when the object of affection loses their bloom. Mom and Dad quickly signed the divorce agreement and went to finalize the divorce. They just needed to wait out the 30-day cooling-off period before it would be completely official. Dad also started packing up to move in with his white moonlight. Although he left with nothing, he had earned quite a bit for the company over the years and had some private savings tucked away. Mom was generous and turned a blind eye to Dad's little stash, not forcing him to leave with truly empty hands. But all the properties, shares, and investments under their names went to Mom. Dad's savings were nearly depleted after buying a villa. Once the asset division was settled, it was time to deal with the company matters. The board meeting is scheduled for next week, and the company needs to formulate a public relations plan before then to address the series of PR challenges following the change in chairmanship. After all, it's a listed company, personnel changes aren't something that can be resolved overnight. I thought everything would proceed as planned, but trouble greeted me the moment I stepped into the office. Sophie, the collaboration with Shanghai has fallen through. Shanghai is our long-term client. Renewing the contract should have been a given, why did it fail? The assistant looked troubled, hesitating to speak. I darkened my expression, speak, what's going on? Manager Beatrice Langley, assigned by Mr. Rutherford, handled the negotiations. She thought our discount for Shanghai was too generous, saying only our group could supply Shanghai's goods, so she demanded a price increase for the renewal contract. Shanghai refused to renew. Such an important matter, why wasn't I informed? And who is this manager? How could HR hire such an idiot? Mr. Rutherford said the manager had full authority and didn't need to report upwards. She wasn't hired by HR either, Mr. Rutherford brought her in directly. My father has always been shrewd and never vague when it comes to major company decisions. This time, he actually hired this manager behind my back, so this manager must be anything but ordinary. Schedule a meeting with Mr. Henry Sterling from Starry Seas. I'll go personally. Also, have this manager come see me. While the assistant went to fetch her, I opened the manager's file. Beatrice Langley, a so-called returnee with overseas education, though it was just a third-rate university abroad that anyone could attend with money. No prior work experience, yet she was parachuted straight into the position of business department manager. Since when did Mortimer Group's standards drop so low? I found the reason on the resume. Beatrice's mother is named Victoria, the very woman who was my father's unrequited love. So that's how it is. When the assistant brought Beatrice in, she looked disdainful. Without greeting me, she sat down directly and asked, "What do you want from me?" "You're fired." I had originally planned to ask some questions, but now there's no need. "On what grounds are you firing me?" Beatrice protested indignantly. "I was personally hired by Mr. Rutherford." "Just because you messed up the Star Ocean deal?" Star Ocean has been Mortimer Group's loyal client for decades, and with one move from you, the group lost their orders. Such a major work blunder, who else would we fire if not you? I didn't even glance up, keeping my eyes fixed on my documents. Mortimer is such a big company. Losing Star Ocean doesn't mean there won't be other orders. Besides, offering Star Ocean such huge discounts was costing Mortimer Group money. I was saving the company money. Beatrice looked utterly convinced of her own logic. I nearly laughed in frustration. There was no point arguing with this airhead fool, her brain was clearly filled with nothing but water. "Assistant Oliver, take her to complete the resignation procedures." But Beatrice refused to leave. "What right do you have to fire me?" I was personally hired by Uncle Rutherford. Does he even know you're firing me? I signaled to the assistant, get her out. The assistant stepped forward to pull her away, but Beatrice violently shook off his hand. You have no right to fire me. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. Just because your parents divorced, you think it's my mom's fault? Well, let me tell you, my mom and Uncle Rutherford are getting married soon, and I'll soon be his daughter. This company belongs to Uncle Rutherford, and half of it will be mine in the future. I helplessly rubbed my forehead. Such an idiot, her mother couldn't have been very bright either. What on earth did my dad see in her mom? What are you standing around for? Call security. My assistant, awkwardly overhearing this elite family drama, left me no choice but to snap at him. Earning such a high salary, you'd think he'd have some situational awareness. The assistant immediately called security upon hearing me, and Beatrice threw an even bigger tantrum when she saw this. She actually called my dad. Uncle Rutherford, come quick, they're trying to kick me out. My dad rushed to my office in a panic, arriving even faster than security. It was truly heartbreaking. The moment my dad arrived, Beatrice immediately put on a different face. With a pitiful expression, she cooed sweetly, Uncle Rutherford, I don't know what I did to upset my sister, but the moment she arrived she wanted to fire me. Don't be afraid, Uncle Rutherford will stand up for you. My father's face was full of concern, then he turned to glare at me angrily. Sophie, this is a matter between us adults. Don't drag Beatrice into this, she's innocent. I sneered, she's innocent? She parachuted in through connections, ruined the Star-C collaboration, and you're telling me she's innocent? Dad clearly didn't know about the Star-C collaboration being ruined yet and looked at Beatrice in confusion. Beatrice began playing the victim, her voice trembling with fake tears. Uncle Rutherford, I really didn't mean to. Giving Star-C such a huge discount means losing your money. I was trying to save you expenses. I scoffed. She probably thought Mortimer Group would be half hers someday, saving her own future money. Dad fell for her act, his tone softening. Sophie, Beatrice meant well. She's young and inexperienced, just forgive her this once. If you guide her properly from now on, she'll surely improve. Still expecting me to teach her? I couldn't help laughing. Do I need to remind you too, this group is under mine and Mom's name? My father's face darkened, while Beatrice poured fuel on the fire. Uncle Rutherford, look how disrespectful sister is being. You've worked so hard managing the company, what does she mean by this? What do I mean? Exactly what I said, nothing more, nothing less. My tone turned cold. Dad, I don't care what your relationship is with this woman, and I don't care about your messy affairs outside. The fact is, you and Mom are divorced. But the group was left to me by my grandfather, and I will never allow anyone to jeopardize its future. My father grew anxious. The group is also the result of my 20 years of hard work. I care about it even more than you do. Do I need to remind you? I interrupted him. You and Mom are divorced. You left with nothing. The group has nothing to do with you, and even less to do with your new daughter. I have the right to fire her, and you have no say in it. Because soon enough, you'll be stepping down as chairman too. My father's face turned ashen. Sophie, do you have to be so ruthless to your own father? I sneered, you divorced Mom because you reunited with your white moonlight. Put nicely, it's rekindling an old flame, put bluntly, it's cheating. Weren't you being cruel to Mom when you betrayed her? How is me stating facts cruel? Beatrice panicked at my words, clutching my father's sleeve tightly. Uncle Rutherford, what does she mean? What do you mean the company has nothing to do with you? Father sighed. I'll explain it to you later when we get back. Then he turned to me again. Sophie, Beatrice is a good girl. My leaving the company has nothing to do with her. I hope you two sisters can get along peacefully, she might even be able to help you in the future. No need. My mother only gave birth to me, I have no sisters. And, I raised my head, meeting his gaze directly, keeping such an idiot in the company would only cause me trouble. She must be fired today. Dad knew my temperament and couldn't persuade me otherwise. He turned to Beatrice and said, "Beatrice, go ahead and process your resignation first. Uncle will help you find another job later." Beatrice left with Dad, but before she went, the look she gave me was filled with resentment and envy. After dealing with Beatrice, I convened a board meeting and removed my father from his position as chairman, officially succeeding him as the chairman of Mortimer Group. All that's left is to wait for the divorce cooling-off period to end. Once Mom and Dad complete the formalities, this matter can be fully resolved. But things never go smoothly. The moment my father left the company, I immediately got a call from my mom. "Sophie, come home right now. That woman is causing a scene at our house." "I'm on my way." My mind went blank, terrified that woman might do something to my mother. My mom is a naive, sweet airhead when it comes to love. Her father spoiled her rotten, coddling her to the point where she grew up completely sheltered and utterly incapable. With a house full of butlers and maids, she could still foolishly let someone in to cause trouble. If that woman bullied her, she definitely wouldn't be able to fight back. I was raised by my grandfather, and before he passed, he told me to take good care of my mother. I can't let anything happen to her. I rushed home in a panic, only to witness an utterly ridiculous scene. My mom was sitting on the sofa, with the house security and servants lined up behind her like an intimidating row. It looked just like some mafia gathering. Facing her stood two women, Beatrice and an older middle-aged woman. That must be Victoria, my dad's so-called white moonlight. Victoria and Beatrice were ranting at my mom, but she had her headphones on watching videos and didn't even glance their way. Seems I worried for nothing. Mommy's been a young lady for over 40 years, she definitely knows how to protect herself. When I returned, everyone turned to look at me in unison, only Mommy kept scrolling through videos. It was the butler who reminded her, "Madam, the young miss has returned." Mom took off her headphones and looked up. "Sophie, you're finally back. They've been jabbering away and I can't understand a word. You handle this, Mommy doesn't get it." I couldn't help but smile bitterly. My mother truly had the life of a pampered young lady, she'd enjoyed comfort her entire existence. In the past, her father handled everything for her, and now it fell to me to resolve her issues. I sat down on the sofa and turned my gaze toward the mother-daughter pair. "Alright, let's hear it. What's going on?" Beatrice was the first to attack. "Elder sister, Uncle Rutherford is still your father after all. Since they're divorcing, the assets are marital property. Why should Uncle Rutherford leave with nothing? You're all being utterly unreasonable." I was speechless. So this was about money after all. My mother spread her hands. I told them, legal matters should be discussed directly with my lawyer. They refused and just kept rambling on and on. How would I understand any of that? I had no choice but to let them talk. "Mommy, you're a sheltered young lady who doesn't need to understand these things. Just sit tight, your precious daughter will handle it." My mother nodded. I turned to Beatrice. "Did my father send you?" Beatrice declared righteously, "Uncle Rutherford is too kind-hearted to speak up about the wrongs done to him, but we won't let him be bullied. You must give him everything he deserves. We've consulted lawyers, their divorce certificate hasn't been finalized yet, so the divorce agreement can be renegotiated." Victoria also chimed in, "That's right. I won't stand by and watch you bully Quentin like this. If you don't return Quentin's belongings to him, they won't get divorced." "Fine, then let's not divorce." The mother-daughter pair were dumbfounded, they hadn't expected me to say that. I sneered, "You didn't actually think my mom was the one in a hurry to divorce, did you? The one having an affair is my dad, and the one desperate to marry you is also my dad. Not divorcing doesn't hurt my mom at all, it's you two who stand to lose." Leaning back on the sofa, I looked at them with disdain. Without a divorce, every penny my dad spends remains marital property, including that villa he bought for you. We have the right to reclaim it. And don't even think about spending a single cent of his money, because it's all joint assets. For every dollar you spend, we'll hire lawyers to claw it back. Our family has money to burn, and all the time in the world to drag this out with you. Beatrice panicked and looked at her mother. Victoria patted her hand to reassure her. The divorce was Quentin's choice. We won't interfere. Sophie, you may have misunderstood. Your father and I weren't in that kind of relationship. Our feelings were restrained by propriety. He insisted on divorcing to marry me, and I didn't want to break his heart. Stop right there. My dad isn't here, so don't perform that act in front of me, it makes me sick. A blooming old white lotus, only my blind father would fall for her. Even after my harsh words, Victoria still smiled without the slightest discomfort. Seems she's a high-level player. Sophie, fairness should prevail in all matters. I know you care about your mother, but with the Mortimer family's vast fortune, your father gets nothing, not even his position as chairman. Do you think that's fair to him? Quite fair, I replied calmly. The group belongs to my family, built from scratch by my grandfather. The assets were always my mother's to begin with. Without my father, my mother would still possess everything. But without my mother, would my father have achieved his current status and wealth? Beatrice said indignantly, that's because Uncle Rutherford is capable. He managed the group well. If it were up to your useless mother, the group would have gone bankrupt long ago. My face darkened. Who gave you the nerve to speak about my mother like that? Beatrice wanted to say more but was stopped by Victoria. Sophie, Auntie came today with good intentions to advise you. You and Victoria should talk it over and redistribute the assets properly. Otherwise, if it goes to court, given how much profit Victoria has earned for the company, the judge would award him the majority of the assets anyway. I sneered, let's not even mention that my father is the at-fault party for adultery, meaning he'd only get a small portion of the marital assets. But as for those joint assets, how much do you think there really is? Whatever there was, he took all of it. Beatrice gasped, how is that possible? Uncle Rutherford only got a few tens of millions. I rolled my eyes, today I'm feeling generous, so let me educate you on the law. All the shares our family holds in the group were transferred from my grandfather to my mother as premarital assets. My father signed a prenuptial agreement relinquishing any claim to the postmarital earnings from these shares. That means all profits generated by Mortimer Group belong solely to my mother as premarital property, my father gets nothing. My gaze turned mocking, as for their actual marital joint property, it's only the money earned outside Mortimer Group's profits, specifically my father's salary as a company employee, the few tens of millions you just mentioned. My mother had no job or income, so there was essentially no marital joint property created. Beatrice turned pale, while Victoria struggled to maintain her composure. My voice turned icy. My mother was kind enough to let my father keep all the marital joint property, but since you've mistaken kindness for weakness and keep pushing your luck, let's recalculate everything. I'll call our lawyer to draft a new divorce agreement demanding half of the marital assets. As you said, since the divorce isn't finalized yet, the agreement can still be amended. You. Beatrice was so furious she couldn't speak. I curled my lips, oh right, I heard Dad spend all his money buying a villa for you to live in. If half that money had to go to my mom, you'd have to sell that villa, wouldn't you? Sophie, Quentin is after all your biological father. Why must you be so ruthless? Victoria began playing the emotional card. My tone was mocking, it was you who came looking for trouble with your insatiable greed. Now you say I'm being ruthless? You brought this upon yourselves. Beatrice was furious and about to yell at me when she suddenly noticed something and instantly changed her expression. With a pitiful look and tears welling up in her eyes, she said, I only came to you because I felt bad for Uncle Rutherford. Why must you humiliate us like this? I turned around just in time to see my father. He walked up to Victoria and her daughter, looking concerned. What's going on? Why are you two here? Beatrice's tears flowed instantly. It's all my fault, Uncle Rutherford. Please don't blame sister. Victoria also looked aggrieved. Quentin, we overstepped our bounds. We'll leave now. Father looked worried. Don't go. Explain clearly, who bullied you? Victoria sobbed, I just wanted to apologize to little sister Eleanor. After all, your divorce was because of me, I couldn't rest easy. But I never imagined they'd find me so intolerable. In the end, I was wrong, I admit it. Victoria wept bitterly while father's face filled with heartache. Beatrice continued, Mom just feels sorry for Uncle Rutherford. The Mortimer Group's success today is all thanks to you. She only came to beg Auntie and sister to let you keep working at Mortimer Group, but they not only refused, they even insulted Mom and tried to hit her. Beatrice pointed at the bodyguards behind us, they outnumbered us. If you hadn't come back, Uncle, who knows what might have happened to me and Mom? Dad flew into a rage, turning to glare fiercely at Mom and me. Sophie, is this how I raised you? Where are your manners? I was raised by Grandpa, has nothing to do with you, I said coldly, not giving him an inch. These two came to our home acting like they owned the place, expecting us to bow to their every whim. In their dreams. Sophie. Apologize. My face darkened, but I didn't move. Are you done talking? Mom suddenly spoke up after staying silent the whole time. If you're finished, then leave quickly. Otherwise, it's trespassing. And Quentin Rutherford, this is my house now. You've already moved out with nothing but the clothes on your back, you have no right to step foot here again. Don't bother coming back for the rest of your things either, I'll throw them all away. If you want them, go dig through the trash. Dad had never seen Mom so sharp-tongued before and stood frozen in place for a moment. Mother's face was cold, her tone icy. My daughter, the head of Mortimer Group, is not someone of your status to reprimand. My daughter, I'll discipline her as I see fit, I'm her father. Dad's face flushed with anger. Mother remained calm, speaking unhurriedly, after the divorce, you're nothing without this family. Don't delude yourself into thinking you can tie my daughter down with that flimsy blood bond. Quentin Rutherford, don't make me look down on you. Mother's words struck right at Dad's weak spot, what he cared about most was his pride. Yes, you Mortimers are rich and high above, looking down on us and bullying others at will. But don't forget, fortunes change. One day I'll stand taller than you all and show you that without you, I, Quentin Rutherford, can still rise. Dad stormed off with Victoria and her daughter in tow. I sighed, but Mom looked completely unfazed. Mom, aren't you hurt that Dad favors that mother-daughter pair so much? Mom shrugged. Sophie, you're still too young. There's not much I can teach you, but here's one lesson for today, never care about someone who's already given up on you. In my heart, he's already history. Whatever he says or does has nothing to do with me anymore. I burst out laughing. In some matters, Mom is even more carefree than I am. She enjoys life to the fullest, always prioritizing happiness above all else. Because of this, she knows how to love herself even better. Mom is right. Since Dad has already given up on us, we don't need to care about him anymore. In our eyes, he's just a nobody now. But sometimes, even if you don't go looking for certain people, they just can't help but come and bother you. That day, Dad was hurt by Mom's words. Right after finalizing the divorce, he immediately started his own company. He wanted to prove to us that even without the Mortimer Group, he could still succeed. His new company's business overlaps significantly with Mortimer Group, and he even reached out to all of Mortimer Group's former clients, seeking collaboration. Major clients, aware of Mortimer Group's family affairs, all declined to cooperate. Only some smaller clients, mistaking his company for a subsidiary of Mortimer Group, agreed to work with him. When word reached me, I immediately had the PR department issue a statement announcing the termination of Quentin Rutherford's position as chairman and clarifying that Quentin Rutherford was no longer affiliated with Mortimer Group. After the news spread, those small companies that had intended to collaborate with his company promptly canceled their agreements. Dad called me, Sophie, do you have to be so ruthless? You're no longer related to us. You're out there collaborating with others under the banner of Mortimer Group. If something goes wrong, I'll be the one left holding the bag. I have to think about Mortimer Group. How did you become like this? So cold and heartless. You used to be so sweet and sensible. I cut him off. I've always been this way. Before, you were family, I was gentle and caring toward you. Now that you've abandoned us, you're just a stranger. And toward strangers, I'm naturally cold and indifferent. Dad already told you, things aren't what you think. Even if Mom and I divorce, my relationship with you won't change. I scoffed, save that line for 3-year-olds. The moment you sided with Victoria and her daughter to force my apology, our father-daughter bond was over. Though I am curious, if your business fails and you end up penniless, would Victoria and her daughter still stick around? Victoria isn't that kind of person. She's not with me for money. I couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense and hung up straight away. Little did I expect we'd meet again that evening. After Beatrice botched the Starcy collaboration last time, I had scheduled another meeting with Henry Sterling from Starcy to renegotiate. At the dinner table, I saw Dad and Beatrice. "Mr. Sterling, what's this about?" I asked with confusion. Mr. Sterling smiled and said, "Mr. Rutherford's company also wants to collaborate with Star Ocean. It's a good opportunity to discuss together." Maintaining my smile, I pulled out a chair and sat down. Dad spoke with confidence to Mr. Sterling. "Star Ocean has collaborated with Mortimer Group for so many years. It's time to give new partners some opportunities." Mr. Sterling still smiled and said, "I've seen the goods from Mr. Rutherford's company. They're on par with Mortimer's, the quality is the same. The decision to cooperate will depend on the price." I sneered. The reason Mr. Sterling refused to cooperate with Mortimer in the first place was that someone didn't want to offer a discount, and that very person is sitting right here in the room. I glanced at Beatrice, but she didn't seem the least bit embarrassed. "Mr. Sterling, I was ignorant back then. Let me offer you a toast and ask for your forgiveness. Please be magnanimous." Beatrice picked up her glass and downed it in one go, her complexion unchanged. What impressive alcohol tolerance. Mr. Sterling remained smiling, his expression unreadable. "You flatter me." Back then, Miss Beatrice Langley was quite bold, claiming that without Mortimer Group's supply chain, my Star Ocean would collapse, that someday I'd come begging for your cooperation. How is it that now you're the one pleading to work with me? Father and Beatrice turned pale, while Mr. Sterling kept smiling. Miss Beatrice Langley's prediction was incorrect. Without Mortimer Group's supplies, we simply found new suppliers, like yourselves. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. It finally dawned on me, Mr. Sterling, that old fox, never had any intention of cooperating with Dad. He came to settle the score for Beatrice humiliating him last time. Bringing me along was probably because he knew about the Mortimer family drama and wanted me to witness the show. In my 40-plus years of life, while I wouldn't say I hold an exalted position in the business world, I've achieved modest success. Yet this is the first time I've been looked down upon by some young girl. If it were a Mortimer girl, fine, after all, she'd be the Mortimer family heir. But you? A nobody. What gives you the right to look down on me? Mr. Sterling asked with a smile, while Beatrice turned pale. Father was the first to apologize. "Mr. Sterling, Beatrice is young and ignorant. I apologize for her behavior on her behalf." "Mr. Rutherford, what status do you hold to apologize to me?" Father froze. Mr. Sterling remained smiling. "The respect I showed you before was because you were the chairman of Mortimer Group. Now that you're running a company with fewer than 500 employees, what status do you have to sit at the same table with me?" Truly a seasoned old fox, insulting someone with a smile. I'm impressed. Dad finally realized that Mr. Sterling had no intention of collaborating with him. "You called us here not to discuss cooperation." Getting worked up after just a few words, how petty. When Miss Beatrice Langley pointed at my nose and humiliated me, I didn't even get angry. I quickly interjected, "Mr. Sterling, it was our group's mistake in hiring that allowed such an employee to appear before you. Rest assured, such oversights will never happen again." Mr. Sterling nodded. "I believe you. After all, the one responsible for the oversight has already left." Father's face turned ashen as he grabbed Beatrice's hand to leave. "Can't handle it already, Mr. Rutherford?" I heard your warehouse is stuffed with unsold inventory, your entire fortune tied up in it, isn't it? And those bank loans too, am I right? None of your concern, father snapped before storming off. Mr. Sterling shook his head with an amused smile. He won't last long. He could have built his business in other sectors, but no, he had to compete directly with Mortimer Group. The major clients only deal with established players like Mortimer, while the smaller clients he never gave the time of day when he was riding Mortimer's coattails. Now that he's fallen from grace, those very clients are lining up to watch his downfall. Not a single one will work with him. Yes, all people have their inherent flaws. Those who used to fawn over my father now want to trample him underfoot and ruin his reputation. After being in power for so many years, father still hasn't understood this truth. He's too arrogant. Mr. Sterling is right, I said. Mr. Sterling didn't press further and began discussing our collaboration instead. The next time I heard about father was when his company went into bankruptcy liquidation. I didn't deliberately inquire about his affairs, but the Mortimer family's situation was common knowledge, and people kept sharing updates about my father's current miserable state with me. Father's company held on for half a year before ultimately going bankrupt. He had mortgaged that villa, and now with the company's collapse, the villa was repossessed by the bank. The tens of millions father got from the divorce were all gone. Now that he was broke, Victoria and her daughter immediately ran away. This time Victoria didn't go abroad after all, international travel is quite expensive, and she had no money. I heard the mother and daughter fled to another city, and before leaving, they even took father's last remaining savings with them. I didn't take it to heart. My father's current predicament is entirely his own doing. I just never expected he'd have the nerve to come back. When I got home, Dad was sitting on the living room sofa. Seeing me return, he quickly stood up. Sophie's back. I frowned. What are you doing here? What kind of question is that? Can't a father come see his own daughter? I've told you, we're done. Other than the legally required support payments after your retirement, I won't have anything to do with you. Even though I spoke so harshly, he showed no sign of displeasure. Let's not talk about that now. Where's your mother? Why isn't she home? As soon as he finished speaking, Mom returned. Seeing Dad, she reacted just like I did. What are you doing here? Eleanor, I've been out of my mind these past days. It's my fault. Let's get remarried. Mom and I looked at each other in shock. I sneered, didn't Dad go chasing after his true love? I was blinded by foolishness. Sophie was right, Victoria only cared about my money. The moment I went bankrupt, she and her daughter ran off. Even her return to China was because her foreign husband went broke. All she sees is money. I couldn't help but laugh. Just as they say, people never listen to advice until they experience the truth themselves. Eleanor, it's all my fault. I failed you. Now I understand, you're the only one who truly loved me. I'll never be fooled by others again. I'll treat you better from now on. Dad looked at Mom with deep affection, still thinking she was the same love-struck girl from before. Grown man like you still doesn't understand such a simple truth? There's no medicine for regret in this world. I won't agree to remarry, someone like you isn't worthy of me. Mom's tone was sharp, and Dad looked utterly defeated. That can't be. You loved me so much, you wouldn't abandon me. Are you still angry? Hit me, scold me, I'll take it willingly as long as it makes you feel better. Mom sneered, at your age, still believing in love? Hard to tell which of us is the real love-struck fool. Dad refused to give up. He stepped forward and grabbed Mom's hand. We've been through thick and thin for over 20 years. We even have a daughter together, she's the fruit of our love. How can you bear to throw away 2 decades of affection? Mom pushed Dad away. You were the first to throw away those 20 years of affection without hesitation. Besides, what affection are you talking about? For these past 20 years, your heart has always belonged to your white moonlight. You said it yourself, you've never forgotten her, no matter how she's changed. Exactly, I chimed in. So what if Aunt Victoria is a gold digger? You've loved her for so many years, Dad. How could you leave her over such a trivial flaw? You two deserve to be tied together for life. I said coldly, just go. No one in this family wants you here. Dad looked utterly devastated, his eyes darting between Mom and me. Seeing our resolute stance, he had no choice but to leave. I immediately instructed the servant, from now on, don't let him in if he comes. Our home isn't open to just anyone. Dad paused mid-step and fled as if running away. Later, I heard he reported Victoria to the police because she had transferred his money away. Victoria and Beatrice were arrested, and their mother-daughter bond shattered as they each accused the other of being the thief. The theft amounted to over 100,000 yuan, and since Victoria and her mother had already spent all the money, the two of them were rewarded with a 1-year prison package. As for Dad, he returned to his hometown and started farming in the countryside to support himself. After that, I rarely heard any news about him. Mom and I also began our new life without him.